Hello. So what I'm going to do now in this next video is I'm going to show you how to change an auditory memory, something that you can hear. And you may do this in combination with what I've shown you over the last two videos, or it may be that you use this in isolation. I tend to use this quite a lot in therapy for people that have negative self-talk. They say bad things to themselves, make themselves feel stressed and worried and anxious. Or if they're hearing somebody else's voice in their head putting them down. So an example of this is I had a lady come to work with me a while ago with low self-esteem. And when I started doing this work with her, I asked her that when she's thinking about all of those things that she perceived that she was failing at, if there was any talk in her head, if she could hear any words. And she said, yes, I can hear that I'm saying, oh, you're so useless. You're pathetic and useless. And I just posed a question to her. I said, and when you hear those words, you're so pathetic and useless, is it your own voice that you're hearing saying them, or is it somebody else's? And she took a moment and her face dropped. She said, it's my father. He was a bully and he used to pick on me and make me feel worthless and rubbish. So what we did is we did something to change those sounds in her head so that it no longer had that same impact. And what she said to me afterwards is, my father's been dead for 20 years. And yet every day, through my thoughts, I've still been allowing him to hold me back, to keep repeating those negative phrases. And as soon as she realised that she was able to let those go, it completely freed her up for a new way of thinking. So, if you have a memory that makes you feel negative or any of that negative self-talk, this is really useful for changing the auditory part of those thought processes. So, if it's purely a sound you're working with, you would think, what sort of sound is it I'm listening to? How loud or quiet is it? How close or far away am I hearing that sound? What direction is it coming from? What sort of pitch does it have? What sort of timbre? And you would work through each one of those, one at a time, to make the changes just as we've done in the other video. So for example, if it was a very loud sound, you might choose to turn it right down, choosing to take it from loud all the way to quiet until you turn it off. If you're hearing it coming from this direction into this ear, you might take it so it's coming in from the other side. You might take it from a very deep low pitch to a very high one. Or you might change the sound in some other way. And that will be the exact same process as I've shown you in the other two videos about how we change the feelings and the images. And you start in the same way, scaling it out of 10 or with the faces, making one change at a time once you've identified those different components, and making sure that you save all of the positive changes as you go. Each time you've made a positive change, reviewing how it's changed, how that feeling's changed, until you get it to be as good as it can possibly be. But what I specifically want to focus on now is if you are talking to yourself in your mind, any negative self-talk, and how you can change that so it no longer has that negative impact. So to start with, I want you to think about what it is you say to yourself. And it may tend to be one specific phrase. And just write that phrase down. So, with this lady, it was, I'm so pathetic and useless, or you're so pathetic and useless. Once it's written there, count how many words it is. This can help you when you're making the changes. You think about on that scale how strong that feeling is that it evokes within you when you think about it or say that phrase to yourself. Notice how it's being said. Is it your voice or somebody else's? How loud or quiet? The pitch? The speed? Where you hear it coming from? And then we make the positive changes. So, for example, the first thing you might do as you're saying that phrase is put a space between each word. So those spaces automatically change how it sounds. You then save the change. What's 2 add 2? I always give a simple sum if I'm going to do a sum because it can get quite confusing otherwise. It might be that you change it from making it very, very low pitched or very, very high pitched. It could even be that you vary the pitch, going from different pitches with each word. And each time you add more and more changes. It could be that you make it a whisper or make it very loud. It could be that you speed it up very, very fast. It could be that in between each word you say a number. This 1 is 2, how 3, you 4, do 5, it 6. It could be that you change it from a stern voice to a silly voice, perhaps of a cartoon character. You can do whatever you want with it. And you just play around with it until it no longer has that emotional impact. Save it, notice the changes, and perhaps repeat it back to yourself in its new altered state and notice how much better it feels. I hope you find that useful and helpful. Take care and bye-bye for now.